Hello BookTube. This is a tag video. It's called the Apple Book Tag, and it's an original tag by Josh at Literary Gladiators, and I was tagged by Steve Donahue, and there's 14 questions, and they're based on apple varieties. So the first question is Granny Smith and overbearingly sweet work or character. So I sort of punted on this a little bit and went with new flavors for desserts. Plenty of sweets in here. This is William Sonoma recipe by Raquel Pelzel and photographed by Tucker and Hosler, Oxmoor House Publishers. And see if they give a, not really. Some of these books sometimes will put the publication information in the back. Yeah, this one does. So this is 2008. Get everybody fired up for dessert. Let me see something there. There we go. It seems timely for the time, for what season we're going into. Second one is a Fuji, a work about a mountain. This was pretty easy. The Magic Mountain, Thomas Mann. This one here is a translated from the German by H.T. Lowe Porter, Alfred Knopf, 1961. And the next, Red Delicious, a book that would be perfect if it was only judged by its cover. That's not saying the book isn't perfect, but in this case, if it was just judged by its cover, it would be amazing too. This is a Folio Society book. Look at that. So this is Bede, A History of the English Church and People. And it's for, London, the Folio Society, 2010. Like I say, I love the cover. So let's move right along. Number 4, Golden Yellow, a book with yellow in the cover. I was surprised at how many books I have with yellow in the cover. But I picked this one, Natasha's Dance, A Cultural History of Russia. Orlando Figes, or Figs, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Metropolitan Books, Henry Holton Company, New York. And this came out in 2002. This is just a marvelous, marvelous book. If you like cultural histories, which I really enjoy if they're done well. So, Natasha's Dance, A Cultural History of Russia by Orlando Figes. Hopefully I'm not butchering his name. McIntosh, a writer that influenced or would influence your writing. It would take a lot, and my writing is passable. And this fella is, in my opinion, a master of the form. So that's Robert Hughes. In this case, one of the books of his that I love the most. He's an art historian, or was. He's passed away a few years ago. If you're going to Barcelona, I would certainly recommend this book, and I've lent it out to folks who've gotten to go. Yeah, fantastic book. He's done others, but that happens to be my favorite. Honeycrisp, a book you have read that is in great demand. That's hard for me because I primarily read backlist titles. I order new books for the library, but I read backlist titles. I figure they've gone through a bit of a winnowing process, and I don't very rarely get caught up in the new stuff. But because of the television show, BBC show, and all that sort of thing, I would have to say Bernard Cornwell, Last Kingdom. which came out in, it's the first of the Saxon Tales. I have all but one of them. HarperCollins publisher, 2005 the series started. So that would be the in great demand for me. Baldwin apple, a writer you feel needs recognition due to a stunted acclaim. He's known, fairly well known. He just died last year, and that would be Howard Frank Mosier. This one here is Waiting for Teddy Williams. This is Houghton Mifflin Company, Boston and New York. The other books he's done is Where the Rivers Flow North, Disappearances, Marie Blythe, The Stranger in the Kingdom, Northern Borders, North Country, The Fall of the Year, The True Account. He's done more since this came out. So I would say Howard Frank Mosier. A work about or set in New York, and that is The Empire apple. And that would be Gotham, A History of New York City to 1898, Edwin G. Burroughs and Mike Wallace. This one's got one of those little signed book plates in it. I find myself going back and forth to this book every once in a while, even now, all these years later. So it's a good one. Then a Gala apple, a work that fits under many genres. That was a little hard. I read just as much nonfiction as I do fiction, maybe even a little more. I picked Modernism, The Lure of Heresy, from Baudelaire to Beckett and Beyond by Peter Gay. And I did it because the genres covered are multiple. So you have A Climate for Modernism, you have Professional Outsiders, Irreconcilables and Impresarios, Painting and Sculpture, Prose and Poetry, Music and Dance, Architecture and Design, Drama and Movies. So many different subjects are pulled in, and areas of human endeavor are pulled in to make this one work. It's W.W. Norton and Company, New York and London, and it was published in 2008. So I may have, I don't know, very broadly interpreted that question. Ambrosia, a long work that is easy to follow. Well, I would say this: Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth. I like that. William Morrow and Company, Incorporated, New York. This is the first edition of 1989, and it's a setting is a cathedral, and it's beautifully written. It's a great story. At least I think it's a great story. And it's 973 pages, so I think that would qualify. Number 11, Jazz, a work that was written after 2010 that demonstrates freshness and originality. And I chose this biography of Vincent van Gogh because I don't know how many biographies there are of Van Gogh. This one's by Stephen Nafa and Gregory White Smith, and it was published in, so it's Van Gogh Life, Random House, New York, and it was published in 2011, so I'm right on the wire there. Not everybody's a huge fan of this book. I liked it. But how they look at the death of Van Gogh is what makes this sort of fresh and original, at least in my mind. So, yeah, Van Gogh. And then, Mutsu, a big book that you indulged. And I would say this. Doesn't look very big. It fits in my hand, right? But it's 968 pages. And it's David Weber, War of Honor, the new Honor Harrington novel from Bean Books. And that came out in 2003. So that would be it. And next, what is your favorite apple? I love apples. I love varieties. Just a couple weeks ago, went to an orchard nearby, and with my 5-year-old boys class, I was a parent chaperone, which I love to do. And we all picked. They have most of the varieties listed here. So we really have fun with that. And then our woods around our property and everywhere in Vermont is just, there's scattered old varietals of centuries-old apple trees are just growing in the middle of the woods, because where the woods is now, 100 years ago, a lot of time it was open farmland, and you'll find cellar holes and apple trees in the mountains, and then a lot of times lilac bushes, because people will put lilacs on either side of their front door. So I love apples. Love the different varietals, the heirloom varieties. But I'd have to say the one I like so many different ones, but I would probably go with the Cortland apple. I really like those, so that's what my choice is, even though it's not on this list. Number 14, apple tree. Who do you tag? Well, I don't know who's done the tag, so I'm gonna just throw out some names, and if you want to do it, there it is. I like the tag. It's Earnestly Eston, Kathleen Ann, Run Right Reads, and Elena Macrodina. If any of you want to do it, or anybody else, just let me know you did it, and I'd love to watch it. And happy autumn and good reading. Thank you, BookTube.